This is surveillance video of Debbie Collier inside a Family Dollar store in Clayton, Georgia. The 59-year-old mother of two buying a rain poncho, torch lighter, paper towels, a tarp, and a tote bag. The very same items that would be found near her naked and partially burned body 13 miles away in this wooded area on September 11th.
At this time, there is no evidence to suggest or support that this incident was related to a kidnapping or that this was a suicide.
Detectives still piecing together a timeline, but say about 20 minutes after Debbie is seen at this shopping center, her daughter, Amanda Beardon, received a Venmo payment of nearly $2,300 and a disturbing cryptic message that read, "They won't let me go. There is a key to the house underneath a flower pot." Later that day, Debbie's husband, Steve, reported her missing. Police would use satellite radio to find her unlocked rental car and a police dog to locate her body in the woods of Habersham County.
The black Pacifica van that had been reported missing out of Athens, Clark County, tied to Debbie Collier, a van that she had rented, according to her daughter. And I was very surprised to find it off a major highway, US 441, which is the main road connecting North Georgia and Western North Carolina. And the law enforcement officials and crime scene tape were right there in plain view of all the passersby. It's a heavily trafficked route.
According to the incident report, Debbie's daughter was alerted by police of the car's location and arrived at the scene in a hysterical state. After a canine was brought in, Debbie's body was located down an embankment, nude and partially burned. Police say her right hand grasping a small tree and remains of a fire nearby. Court TV visited her Athens, Georgia neighborhood. Friends and family are still too shaken to talk on camera, but told us Debbie and her husband Steve kept to themselves. Her son Jeffrey Beardon posted this message on Facebook about his mother. In part it reads, "It is with the deepest sadness that I share my mother passed earlier this month. I will never be able to fully articulate the loss of my mother and what she meant to me. She was my longest source of love, support, and encouragement. My mother was very vibrant and a strong soul." Our grief is here and our pain is deep. I am asking that you please respect our privacy while we learn to cope and adjust with our loss. It is not appropriate to publish speculation about my family. I ask that all attention on this tragic story of my mother's death remain focused on aiding the police investigation.
And still no answers tonight. Now, Jeffrey Beardon, Debbie's son, is speaking out now. He's going to join us in just a moment. We're hooking up with him. But I want to bring in from Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon, who's back with us. Bobby, great to see you. Are you surprised that we're still here and there hasn't been an answer to all of this yet?
No, I'm not surprised, Vinnie. You know, investigations, especially early on in cases like this, tend to move in a lot of different directions. You have to cover all the ground. You have to, run out every lead. You have to take every theory that you might have and look at it and turn it over and look at it from different angles and stuff. And so that's why sometimes there's a frustration on the part of the public when you hear what seems like contradictory messaging from law enforcement. And you know me, I'm always a advocate of not putting out a lot of stuff to the public because it can be confusing, particularly early on in an investigation. We're going in 10 different directions, and 9 of them are probably going to be not right. And so it's hard to kind of give, in the early days of an investigation, so much public information because some of it then you have to retract, some of it you have to pull back, and you can't keep doing that or the public loses confidence in you.
So in this case, there's a couple of things that I think caught everyone's attention and are a bit peculiar because of the timing of it. The Venmo with the very cryptic message, right? It seems if that message was sent to her daughter would be able to provide some information to law enforcement to put some context into that, because I still don't understand it. And then the other part, we've been watching this Family Dollar video. She's not really close to home there, and trying to understand why she's there, an hour away when there are other dollar stores that are much closer.
In fact, I saw some reporting, it might have been from her son, that there was a dollar store much closer to her house in Athens that she used to frequent. And at the same time, she doesn't look under duress in that video. There's no one accompanying her. She doesn't look nervous. She doesn't try to talk to the cashier. So it's really that part of it is a mystery, you know. As far as the message, what strikes me most is the use of the word they. So they, she's referring, I think, to whoever her murderers might be, but she's referring to it to her daughter as if her daughter knows who they are. So you don't send a text to somebody, you know, without any kind of points of reference. So any context. So when she says they, it seems to me like she's assuming the daughter knows who she's talking about.
Absolutely. All right, Bobby, stand by, because joining us now by phone, special guest in Baltimore, Maryland, Debbie's son, Jeffrey Beardon, is with us. And Jeffrey, thank you so much for joining us tonight. First of all, I'd like to express the deepest condolences from all of us here at Court TV. How are you and your family holding up?
Yes, Mr. Politan, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so my family, I'm not going to lie, we're not doing great by any means. I think the last 2 months of our lives have been very surreal. You know, we've been put in different circumstances, situations that we could have never imagined. We've been followed, we've been photographed, we've been drugged through the ringer online, critiqued for every action or inaction or anything in our history, speaking out or not speaking out. And, you know, I'm here today because, you know, I want people to know that I feel like my family is being stripped of some part of a chance to like grieve collectively. And I think my family is really just here wanting to, you know, try to get answers for my mom and seek some kind of justice and, you know, try to keep the focus on her investigation, especially given everything that's just been going on recently.
Absolutely. You know, I've watched that video from the Family Dollar Store. And, you know, I'm down here in Georgia also, and it's a Saturday. She's dressed in all red. Do you know where she was going that day? And is she a Georgia Bulldog fan? Was she going to watch the game or something? Do we have any idea?
Yeah, so my mom is definitely a Georgia Bulldog fan. Go Dogs. My mom was an even bigger Alabama fan, to be honest with you. I think that day is something that even I'm left with a lot of questions, something I wish I could tell you more about. You know, I mean, I can tell you that my mom was someone who historically took her Saturdays to, you know, work half days at her job, run errands for the week, like grocery shopping, you know, just things in town, or she would be resting and relaxing at home from a long work week, where she would like to, you know, invite people over, you know, watch TV, watch a movie, have a meal, you know, be with her husband, be with her friends and her children. So it's something that's still kind of haunting my family to this day.
Yeah, because, you know, you talk about where the store is. It's not really close to where she was living at that time. How about your relationship with investigators? And I speak to so many families, and sometimes that relationship is fantastic. Sometimes it's not great, and sometimes it's just very guarded because investigators are doing their work and they have a difficult time releasing information to even family members. So how would you describe the relationship that you've had with investigators so far?
I guess I would have to characterize it as fine. You know, so far for me, I've only really been in communication with one investigator consistently throughout the entire time, and that was usually because that was something that I prompted. And then, you know, I recently had an exchange with the sheriff. I had a phone call with him, just trying to express some concerns. The phone call, unfortunately, was unpleasant and a bit unprofessional. And I'm still honestly at this point waiting for a response from a formal complaint that I filed after that conversation last week.
And what was the nature of the complaint? What?
So part of my complaint was during the phone call that I had with the sheriff, Mr. Joey Terrell, I was expressing some concerns for the way in which communication has occurred during the investigation, which, I want people to know I'm trying to be very realistic here, and I understand that, you're not always going to be privy to everything, but I was trying to express some of the concerns about the way in which information was being released, some leaks of information that was being given out to the public before the family, based on some reporting and some reporters that I've talked to who said that they got it from law enforcement. And I also wanted to address, what steps have been taken by his office, and then if any, and then what steps could be taken. And then I followed it up and just let them know that I did not feel like he was able to empathize with the situation or offer any kind of action. He just denied, and I was hoping for some kind of resolution on that.
I gotcha. I understand your frustration with that. I mean, I'm in the, I'm on the journalism side of this, the reporting side of it, and I always presume that the family knows more. And to hear that is kind of disheartening. Do you know anything, and this is the other part, the first time I heard about what happened to your mom, this cryptic message and the Venmo transfer that day. Do you have any better understanding of the context of all of that?
No, sir. I wish I could give you, kind of like you were saying before, it's been a learning process for us. Like, that's something that even after 2 months, I'm still sitting here questioning, and I think, I want to know why such a large amount. I want to know who they are still, that she was, she referred to someone as who, or they, excuse me, and who they are. And it's just, it's hard to, still be at this point and still be asking for help and trying to get that kind of basic information that I thought at this point, there would be something a little bit more that could be shared.
Absolutely. I just want to bring Bobby Chacon back into the conversation, Jeffrey. Bobby's a former FBI special agent, has dealt with so many cases and investigation. And Bobby, if you could just, I guess, explain to the folks at home, Jeffrey, put some context on helping a family through this level of frustration now and a little bit of mistrust that there was potentially some leaks from law enforcement and reporters like me getting information. No, I didn't get it, but someone else, like a reporter, getting information before a family would get it, and how to better navigate that relationship.
Sure. First, Vinnie, I want to tell Jeffrey that, I add on to your condolences. This is a tragedy that no family should face. And I've read some of Jeffrey's things about his mother, that she sounds much like my mom, looking forward to the holidays, spending them with her family was the main thing in her life. And she sounds like this wonderful person. And, a mother's love is something that should never be taken away. And so I want to add my sincere condolences to you and your family. I can tell you that in situations like this, there is an insatiable appetite on the behalf of the public, of podcasters, of TV shows for information, and that sometimes leads to a lot of pressure where if a small town sheriff's office is not used to that kind of pressure, then they can crack and they can make some mistakes in handling the things like that. There is no excuse, never an excuse for leaks. And I see it like you did. I see it all the time where, police sources or, a reporter will say my sources inside the police department. That should never happen. And, we dealt with leaks myself in the FBI, but we were used to that kind of pressure. But there's never an excuse for a leak. And Vinnie's heard me say 1,000 times, the only time information should be made public is when it benefits the investigation. Because the investigators, if they do their job and they focus on just finding out who did this, then your family will get the justice that they deserve. And sometimes there's a lot of noise in cases like this, and they really have to kind of put on blinders and put on their earmuffs and just focus on following the investigative trail. Now, sometimes that means that there's certain information that the family doesn't receive, or they receive it in the wrong order where somebody else might receive it first. And those are mistakes that come about because they're just not interested, they're not used to this kind of pressure.
Yeah. All right, Bobby's going to stay with us. Jeffrey Beardon's going to stay with us. We're going to take a short break. We'll have much. Welcome back. Debbie Collier's mysterious death still has not been solved. Her son, Jeffrey Beardon, is joining us tonight by phone. Bobby Chacon, FBI special agent, also with us. Jeffrey, what do you think happened? Do you have any thoughts about or theories about what happened here?
I think I'm still left feeling like this is a homicide, based on, the discussions that I've had with law enforcement. But then again, with how long everything has gone on, some of the decisions that have been made, and then some of the recent engagements and lack of communication, it's hard to know even what is happening or what could have happened at this point. I don't, again, want to be a hypocrite and say that my family and I are not prepared for anything at this point, just given how life has gone over the last 2 months for us. But, I still, what I know and what I know of my mother, it still just doesn't make sense for her to be out there. And so, I think as someone as a concerned son, I'm still scared that she she entered into something that she didn't know she was entering into, and something bad happened. Information in pieces.
Well, Jeffrey, we appreciate your time tonight. Our thoughts are with you and your family, and we are hoping so much that you get the answers that you want, and if it turns out to be homicide, the justice that your family deserves. So thank you so much, Jeffrey. I appreciate it. We all appreciate it. Thank you.